Hello, everyone. It's Charlton, and just want to people are asking why, wondering why the motive of the person, the suspected van attacker, Alek Minassian, who's suspected of doing this. I'm live streaming on Periscope as I make this video, and I'm probably just going to make the video and not bring the camera in as much because there's so much material, and I'll just get lost. And I already had to delete one once because it was just such a mess, and because my reading is horrendous, and I'm going to try not to do too much reading. So, people are wondering, why did he do this? The seems like the most likely scenario or popular theory is mental illness. And I kind of think that that's probably is a good possibility, especially based on how he behaved, particularly at the end with the officer pointing what people thought was a gun and I think has turned out to be a phone, but almost looking like he was suicidal. In fact, saying things like shoot me in the head or kill me, and lifting his arm up like this, pointing it at the officer, trying to goad him to get him to kill him, and the officer didn't do it. A lot of people were surprised by that, myself included. I think it's in Canada, it's maybe a little bit different. In the United States, I think that dude would have been taken down, right away, especially, after what had just happened. So, but, even though it is mental illness, a couple things, he went through, it carries so many of the hallmarks of like, an ISIS lone wolf type of attack. He went through the trouble of renting, and I don't think it was. I don't think it was terror related. I'm just saying it so much resembles it, and it's just so strange. And he went through the trouble of renting a van. Reportedly, it's a Ryder van. He must have rented that. And just the path he took, the course he took in doing this. And if you look at the map, and maybe I will bring the camera, but it's so hard to see it. Here is where he went, and this is that neighborhood that they're talking about. That's the other thing, is that the neighborhood he went to on Yonge Street or Yonge Avenue, I think it's Yonge Street, is supposedly a very culturally diverse neighborhood. And so it's like he specifically targeted somewhere that was going to have a lot of people of the same ethnicity possibly as he is. I believe his name is Alek Minassian. I believe that last name is Armenian. Okay, and I saw Rock Girl had mentioned that it was being reported he was Persian, he was Iranian, and but I'm pretty sure that last name Minassian is Armenian. But there's a large Armenian population in Iran. My wife is Persian. I actually talked to her about this to kind of get a little educated on it. So if you look at the map where he started, he started right at the beginning of this cluster, and he went from like a mile, a little bit more, not a half mile, as, it seemed like they're trying to play this down a little bit, and it's going to be difficult for you to see this, but he started in this giant cluster of buildings on Yonge Street, this very popular, diverse neighborhood. He started all the way up with tons of commerce, tons of, large buildings. Started here, went all the way down here, and ended right at the very bottom of it. Like, it's once the building stops, that's where he stopped. It's almost like he knew in advance where he wanted to go, okay? And the other thing that's a little strange, and it did jump out at me, is where he parked. He parked right in front of the building, and right behind him is the sign of something that looks like it's in Arabic, but it's actually not Arabic. It's Persian. I checked with my wife. And, I'll show you a picture of it. I'll show you too, just for the heck of it. So his van parked right in front of that sign. That's literally, that's where he is. I could show you something else where it shows that, right there, if you saw it go by. It's difficult to do these two things at the same time. Right there. Okay, that's where his van parked. Jeez. Okay, and you see it right there. And that's, that sign is Persian. It actually says Tehran, which is the capital of Iran. Iran. My wife, again, is Persian, and it says Air Tehran, which means like international money. It's a money exchange. So it just seems to me that, based on, you're looking at this map of Google Maps of where it's this giant cluster of buildings. He starts at the very beginning of it, ends at the very end of it, and ends right in front of that sign. And it literally says in the USA Today article that, because it's such an ethnically diverse neighborhood, billboards of real estate agents with Iranian surnames advertising their services dot a street where restaurants sell durian cakes, braised pig's feet with seaweed, and Middle Eastern kebabs. There are also plenty of pubs offering hockey night beer and wing special. It's a mix. I'm just saying, if he's Armenian, maybe Armenian Persian, and there's a lot of Persian presence there, he ends up right at something where there's a Persian sign. It just seemed like that it meant something, but I don't know that for a fact at all, and just speculating. So there are various reports of stuff that they've kind of dug up on him, over at heavy.com, and they're odd, definitely. One of them was that, and this was reported in two different NBC news outlets. Two different reporters confirmed this, that he allegedly had researched and chatted online about something called the Isla Vista killings in California in 2014, which was this famous massacre where somebody, went on this massacre and then eventually killed himself in California in 2014. And you don't really, the person, a 22-year-old Elliot Rogers, killed 6 people and injured 14. He stabbed 3 men in his apartment, then drove to a sorority house and shot 3 female students. Then Rogers drove to Delhi and shot a male student, and then began driving through the city, shooting pedestrians and hitting some with his car. He was found with a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head. And supposedly he had chatted about this online, and it says here that, the report about Minassians searching the Isla Vista massacre, saying that the report came from U.S. and Canadian law enforcement officials, and was not based on any online postings. I don't know how Canadian and U.S. law enforcement officials are able to basically pull that up almost instantaneously once one of these incidents happens. I think everything you search and do online basically is accessible pretty quickly by the authorities. I mean, that would just be my guess. But in any event, let me continue, because there is other stuff about him being very socially awkward. He went to the best of my knowledge, he had just graduated. I think he was at Seneca College. He lived in a place called Richmond Hill, which is north of Toronto. They visited his house. It was, taped off with crime scene tape and stuff. But there are a couple of reports of an email he posted in a group right before he graduated, saying telling people off or something like that. Hold on. So it says, our Windsor.ca talked to neighbors at the home where he lived in Richmond Hill with his family, with his parents. It was parents and 2 sons. Apparently the father was very friendly, but the sons weren't so friendly and never really looked at her, according to a neighbor. And this is from a fellow student at Seneca College, basically a man who had worked with Minassian on a project at Seneca. Seneca is the college where he most recently attended, but asked to remain anonymous. Told the Globe and Mail that Minassian seemed to have significant social or mental disability. He had a tough time speaking to people and occasionally suffered tics where he would shake his hands or tap his head. This anonymous source said he believed Minassian got into an accident, panicked, and overreacted because he had such a tough time believing Minassian could do this on purpose. I don't believe that that's the case. And I do think there's something happens. He snapped in some way, but it's too well planned out. Just like I said, that giant clusters of building coming right, the neighborhood, starting at the beginning, ending at the end, renting a van in advance. There's just no way that it was. I mean, I think he snapped maybe, and there's mental disability, mental issues for sure, possibly. But it's not as though this was some random accident and then he just panicked. No way. That's just not possible. So then there was an email that was discussed about, says it's at the Globe and Mail, that Minassian sent to a group on April 19th, which is just like 5 days ago, The email was described as telling off his classmates. The publication did not share the actual text of the message. That student said that Minassian had worked several jobs while at Seneca. And here's the article that they took it from. It says, one Seneca student in computer studies said Mr. Minassian had graduated from the program just last week. The student shared with the Globe and Mail a message Mr. Minassian sent to the group out of the blue. So the name of the group, an online group, is called Out of the Blue, on April 19th, telling off his classmates. He added that he believed Mr. Minassian was at Seneca for 7 years because he held down several software development jobs. He had developed his own app, supposedly. I guess while at Seneca, it's called the Toronto Green Parking app, Parking Advisor. You know, I mean, he had, and that was on Google somewhere, Google Apps. You know, I didn't really research any, but it was, you know, I mean, he must have been fairly skilled, you know, in software development to do that. So, you know, that's pretty much, that's what I found out. And I think I'm going to end it there. I don't know. The thing that struck me is how he began at the beginning of the cluster of the neighborhood. The neighborhood is specifically ethnically diverse, populated with Iranian, you know, businesses, and he begins at the very beginning of it, ends at the very end, right at the very end, and parks underneath a sign that is a Persian sign, and he's maybe Armenian Persian. So he would have been killing possibly people that are of his same ethnicity. I don't know, and that's what I found out so far. And I don't know. It's obviously horrible, man. You know, but we all want to know why, and so that's what I just wanted to know. You know. All right. Thanks for watching my videos. Please subscribe to my channel. You know what? If you don't mind, when you got a chance, jump over to Periscope and follow me over there. You know, yeah, and give me a like down below. I'll see you in the next video later. I got distracted there.